Good morning. It's such a nice morning. It's first morning. It's cool in a while that I thought I'd just come out. I got a little porch out of my deck where I live, and then I thought I'd come out here and do this message. Uh, it's not a very good message, but it's a very important one. It's one that will help you, if you understand it properly, to keep from causing others to curse God because of you, or showing that, maybe you're not as spiritual as you think you are. Let me read this, especially to the Jews. This relates to Christians as well. It's Paul he gets right down on it, especially today with a lot of Christians they use Hebrew words and they try to act like they're Jews and they're not. It's like trying to watch white guys trying to be like they're black. And it's just all a bunch of fraud. And Paul gets right down on it. He tells him, he says, now if you call yourself a Jew, he says, if you hear, this is the kind of neighborhood I live in. You hear police sirens and all that. A lot of stuff goes on here. But if you call yourself a Jew, if you rely on the law and brag about your relationship to God, if you know His will and approve of what is superior because you are instructed by the law, if you are convinced that you are a guide for the blind, a light for those who are in the dark, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of infants, because you have in the law the embodiment of knowledge and truth, you then who teach others, do you not teach yourself? What he's basically saying is this, and this can apply, he's specifically addressing the Jews, because they were always bragging about, they got the law. Now, a lot of Christians do this too. They were trained, maybe they got some Bible training, and so they tend to elevate themselves as, I'm a teacher and you're just a follower, and, either you listen to me or, and they act like they're superior to others. And they're really not. And so Paul, there's so much about ourselves that we just don't know. Okay?
How are you doing?
And they're getting ready to set traps for raccoons. So there's so much that we just don't know. I was reading recently in the Old Testament where Bathsheba's grandfather was at one time the real faithful advisor to David. But when David committed adultery with Bathsheba and then killed her husband, then what happened was he harbored bitterness in his soul for what David did to his family. And when Absalom, David's son, tried to take over the kingdom from his father, many years later, Bathsheba's grandfather, who was a trusted advisor to David, began to give him bad advice so that he would be killed. And it didn't work out. If you read the story in 2 Samuel, it's fascinating, intrigued, the stuff that goes on in people's minds and hearts, and thinking they're right when they're really not. That's why David, I think one of the greatest prayers anybody can pray is, Lord, search my heart and see if there's any wicked way in me. Because a lot of people, they don't really know all the intimate. They may think they're doing right. And little do they know they're on a wrong slope. And Paul is saying here, he says, you're bragging about you being a teacher and you got the law, and he says, do you do the things that you teach others? You who preach against stealing, do you steal? You who say that people should not commit adultery, do you commit adultery? You who abhor idols, do you rob temples? Hold on one second. Hello? Hello? Yeah, who's this? Hi, Richard. I'm in the middle of a podcast right now. What can I do for you? Yeah, come on in. Okay. Okay, bye. I'm sorry about that. That was my maintenance guy. And, this thing isn't edited, so it happens the way it does. Uh, I don't care. God's in charge of everything, right? I was supposed to go substitute this morning. And come to find out, the class that I was going to subs turned out to be a kindergarten or fourth grade class. Well, I'm not. I told them I would do middle school to high school, preferably high school, and so it just didn't work out. And I got up early and all that. But anyway, let me finish this up because I got to open the door for this guy. Uh, oh my goodness. Uh, You brag about the law. Do you dishonor God by breaking law? And here's the point, as it is written in the last verse here. God's name is blasphemy among the Gentiles because of you. And he's basically telling the Jews, because of your hypocrisy, you're not leading anybody. In fact, you're causing people to curse God. Christians do that too all the time. They want to go around, and carry their Bible and like that. But, you need to examine your own life and see what's really true. And look deep down inside. Say, God, is there any wicked way in me? If so, let me know. Let me get it right. You harbor bitterness like Bathsheba's grandfather did all the way till he died. And you know how he died? He realized David didn't take his advice. He just went home, got his house in order, hung himself. You can't do that. You got to be continually, every day, searching your heart to see if you are causing people to bless God or curse God. If you're causing to be a stumbling block or non-stumbling block. Okay, we'll do this again outside of here. But, you get interruptions. That's life. That happens to all of us. Bye.